Week 1 of the NFL season is finally here, and the Las Vegas Raiders will be taking the short trip to LA to take on the Chargers. Today, I have a game preview for you guys. I'll be going over the depth chart and matchups to watch for on both sides of the ball, and giving a prediction for the game at the end of the video, so stick around for that. Don't forget to like the video. I plan on doing these each week, so if you have any suggestions or anything you'd like to see added to the series, please let me know in the comments, and most importantly, enjoy the video. The Raiders offense versus the Chargers defense has a ton of interesting matchups. Since this is my first game preview we're doing, I'll explain my key for grading these players. Players can be anywhere from a 0 to a 100 in the scale. Over on the left you can see this scale. The first category is elite. This is the top players in the league. You can think of this as a 90 to a 100 on that rating scale. Next is star players. These players aren't quite elite, maybe not top 5 at the position, but still huge difference makers. These players would be an 80 to an 89 on that scale. Then we have solid players in green. These are players that aren't necessarily stars, but players that are good enough that the team most likely considers this position as solid and one they are not looking to replace. This would be a 70 to a 79 on the rating scale. Then we have average players. This one's pretty self-explanatory. These are players that are league average for the position. GMs probably consider this position not as a top need, but one they would upgrade from if given the chance. These players would be a 60 to a 69 on that rating scale. Last we have poor players. These players have a recent history of performing poorly and will probably be replaced in the offseason if they don't pick up their play. These players will be below a 60 on the scale. It's important to note, I graded these players as I see them now. For example, Trey Tucker is currently listed as average based on an up and down rookie year, but I could easily see upgrading him to solid very soon, as he's looked really good in the preseason. Brock Bowers is one of the rare rookies I feel good about giving a solid grade to out of the gate. I could see upgrading him to star if he starts out really strong, or downgrading him to average if he faces some rookie struggles. You will definitely see players move up and down throughout the season, as that's just the nature of the NFL. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into some of the matchups to watch for in this game. One area that I would be worried about if I was a Chargers fan are the Chargers corners matching up against these Raiders weapons. Asante Samuel Jr. gives them the best chance to cover Davante Adams, but even then, the Chargers, and in 2023, he put up 176 yards and a score with some poor quarterback play. Chargers' new defensive coordinator Jesse Minter gets a lot of his influence from a man-heavy Baltimore Ravens scheme, so Davante could see a good amount of single coverage which could end badly for the Chargers. And outside of Samuel, I don't know if any of these corners can match up with Myers, Tucker, or Bowers. It will be interesting to see how the Chargers use Derwin James in this game. If they decide to bring him down into the box to help with these tight ends, or if they keep him deep to help these corners out. Alohi Gilman is also looking to build off a really solid season last year. He and James might give the Chargers some decent ability to cover Bowers and Mayer, but that still leaves these corners one-on-one. The Raiders' interior offensive line versus the Chargers' interior defensive line is an interesting matchup as well. I'd like to see if one of these groups can prove me wrong as to where I see them right now. Cody Whitehair was really bad last year. It's disappointing that Jackson Powers-Johnson isn't starting the season due to missing most of training camp with an injury. I think the best player of this entire highlighted group right here, offense or defense, is Andre James. And Dylan Parham has historically played better as a right guard, so it's nice to see him back at his natural position. On the Chargers side of things, Denzel Perriman is a solid run defender and will help out his interior in terms of run defense. My last key matchup for this side of the ball is Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack versus Thayer Munford. This is a clear advantage for the Chargers. Holton Miller should be able to hold his own on the left side, but the right side is definitely concerning. The Raiders will need to use a combination of double teams, chips, and other blocking concepts to give Munford some help throughout the game. This is a matchup that could absolutely change the outcome of the game if the Raiders do not handle it properly. Quarterback is the most important position in the NFL. I think the biggest question on offense is not a matter of if these playmakers can take advantage of the secondary, but more a matter of protection and if Gardner Minshew can get these players the ball. Remember, he's in a completely different offense than he was last year with Shane Steichen, who was formerly calling plays from him, is one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. The offense can only go as far as Minshew takes them. It doesn't matter how many good players you have if the QB can't get the ball to them. Let's hope Minshew is able to prove the doubters wrong this year. At the end of the day, he deserved a starting quarterback role after what he was able to accomplish last year, and hopefully he can make the most of it. Let's flip over to the Chargers offense and the Raiders defense. The most exciting matchup on this side of the ball is definitely the Raiders defensive line going up against this Chargers offensive line. The Chargers have used a lot of capital on their offensive line as of recently, drafting guys like Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson, and Joe Alt with early draft picks. Rashawn Slater has developed into one of the better left tackles in the NFL. I could definitely see moving him up to elite status if he starts the first quarter of this season strong. Zion Johnson has been an up and down player early in his career. If he can find some consistency, I think he could be a star player at the guard position. Bradley Bozeman has seen better days in his career, but still gives the O-line some decent run blocking. Ray Pipkin slides into the right guard spot. He formerly played tackle and may be better suited inside. I already have Joe Alt as a solid player without seeing him play a snap in the regular season. He was the best tackle prospect in a draft that saw 8 offensive tackles drafted in the first round. He's most likely going to be a better run blocker than pass protector at the NFL level, but we'll just have to wait and see how he develops. Across from them is the strength of the Raiders, the defensive line. Maxx Crosby is one of the best defensive players in the entire NFL. He is elite against both the run and the pass and possesses some of the best hands and motor you will see in this league. Christian Wilkins is a star player at the defensive tackle position and one of the best run defenders in the NFL, while also possessing some pretty good pass rush skills. Malcolm Koonce is a guy that I could see developing into a star in a contract year this season. His get-off and long arm move make him a tough matchup for any tackle trying to block him. The other interior spot will be a rotation with veterans John Jenkins and Adam Butler, who are both league average starters coming off of some solid years last year. Butler being the better pass rusher and Jenkins being the better run defender. The Raiders D-line versus the Chargers O-line is just one of those matchups that could determine the outcome of this game. The last matchup I'll be looking at is Justin Herbert versus this Raiders secondary. I say Herbert and not the receivers because I think the Chargers may have the worst receiving room in the NFL. I have Jack now as neither player showed much of anything in their rookie years. The Chargers' best chance of getting open may be with Ladd McConkey, but he's going to be matched up on the Raiders' star slot corner Nate Hobbs. So at the end of the day, it's going to be up to Justin Herbert to make plays in the passing game, as I don't think he's going to be getting much help from his wide receivers. The Chargers are going to be trying to run the ball in my opinion, and that's why my biggest matchup is in the trenches with the defensive and offensive lines. I wanted to briefly touch on coaching as coaching in the NFL is extremely important. Antonio Pierce is entering his first season as an official head coach, while Jim Harbaugh has coaching experience at both the college and pro levels with an extremely impressive 44-19-1 record as an NFL head coach. Luke Getsy is a wide zone play action guy, while Chargers offensive coordinator Greg Roman has more of an option and play action attack. Raiders defensive coordinator Patrick Graham runs a disguise-heavy zone scheme with multiple fronts. Jesse Minter, on the other hand, runs a blitz-heavy man scheme that you see with the Baltimore Ravens. Although these two head coaches couldn't be more different in terms of experience, they both have a lot to prove. Pierce wants to prove he can be a head coach in the league, and Harbaugh wants to prove he can still coach at the highest level. It is an interesting matchup for sure. Here's my prediction. Let me know yours in the comments. I think this will be a relatively low-scoring game, with both teams wanting to run the ball. I see the Raiders grinding out the Chargers 20-17. I'll be posting a post-game video, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. Once again, let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see in these previews. I'll see you in the next one.